when Kyle Kuzma took the podium, I was really like, that's crazy. Like Kyle Kuzma's right there.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Holden Sherman's Conversations. In this episode, I speak to Penn State journalism student and Wizards SB Nation writer Greg Finberg about what it's like to cover NBA games as a credentialed reporter, how he manages his Twitter account with over 10,000 followers, and how he stays reachable to anyone who wants to talk ball in the Wizards community. So, a lot of people don't get to have that type of experience at a young age, but you've been able to say that you've covered NBA games as a credentialed reporter. Like, what is that like?
It was by far and away the coolest experience of my life. Like I remember my first time was media day 2 Octobers ago, so for the 23-24 season. And that was the first year of the rebuild. So like there's a lot of new faces for the Wizards. You didn't have your Bradley Beals and your Porzingises and all that. You had, Anthony Gills and Kyle Kuzma was there, Poole was there for the first time. So it was just cool to like get that access. Like I walked into the arena where the players walk into the arena. And as somebody that's like watched sports my whole life and has like been a Wizards fan for my whole life, it was the coolest thing ever. So like while everyone else is there, like locked in because it's like first day of the year for reporters too, like I was just kind of soaking it all in. Like when Kyle Kuzma took the podium, I was really like, that's crazy. Like Kyle Kuzma's right there. But obviously I have to lock in because like I have a job to do. And so the players just keep coming and you interview them. And I remember at media day, everyone had kind of dispersed. Like they had food and everything for everyone, but everyone was kind of writing their stories. They had left. I finished mine late. And I kind of walked around because I'm like, the court is right here. And so I just kind of walked out and nobody stopped me. And so I just walked onto the court and was just like, I called my brother and I FaceTimed him. And I'm like, you're never going to guess where I'm standing right now. So like the experience that I got, just like, I was very locked in on my work, but like I wanted to make sure I was still like a kid and I wanted to make sure I was enjoying it because that's really the whole goal of it, right? Is to just enjoy it, enjoy yourself. So that part was cool. Media day in person too, like uh you know I got a free ticket, like pretty much that was like I went to the game for free. I wrote about the game. They had free food for me and I got to talk to the players and coaches after, and that's kind of what hit me. Like this is what I want to do. Like I want this to be my everyday. This is the fact that this could be my job. That was kind of really crazy for me that these people that I'm around do this for a living. They get paid to do this. I'm doing it for free at that time, but like I would do it for free because it's that much fun for me. So it was really the experience of like this is like a cool moment, and I want to make sure that I can fully embrace it while also taking it in. How cool it is that I've been able to get this far. At such a young age, where people usually take longer to get in person credentialed. At NBA games.
Yeah, so now I've covered 8 different games as a credentialed reporter. And the first one, it was Sun Sixers, November of 2023. I felt like a chicken with my head cut off. And so after the game, I was like, oh shoot, like I'm out of place, imposter syndrome, all this stuff. But like the more distant and the more games I've covered since, like I feel like that was like necessary. Did you kind of get that like chicken with your head cut off? Like, and I knew some of the reporters there, like I knew who Keith Pompey was, I knew who Dwayne Rankin was, like these are all prominent reporters for the Sixers and Suns. And then I knew who Tim Bontemps was. Do you watch the Hoop Collective?
Always,
Okay, yeah.
always.
I knew who Tim Bontemps was. So like I went up to these like I went up to Dwayne, I went up to Tim, and I was so nervous. I actually ended up sitting next to Dwayne, but like it feels necessary that like I was like shaking and stuff like that because in a lot of ways like you're not out of place, but you feel like you are out of place.
Well, I'll give you a story because my first experience was a bit different from your first experience.
Okay.
It seems like you had a great time, and you asked. I'm sure you asked, like you talked to Dwayne. Dwayne was probably like, sit here with me. We'll do the press conference and all that, and they were really receptive. For me, it was a little bit different. Right when I got there to media day, I had talked to Josh Robbins, who covers the Athletic,
Oh, yeah.
the Wizards for the Athletic, a guy that I looked up to and obviously respected his work. And he kind of, I talked to him for a bit and he's kind of like, I got to talk to you about some stuff. And he never ended up talking to me. So I go to the home opener, right, against Memphis. And he sits me down courtside, while everyone's warming up. And he kind of lectured me. He was kind of like, you're doing X, Y, and Z wrong. You're not
Oh,
covering the team like this. The team is not happy with how you're, tweeting out the starting lineups, even though you're not here. And other people are not happy with how you're attributing their work and your articles. And I mean, looking back on it, I've talked to a lot of people. I wrote a story about it for Penn State. Like, I didn't really think what I was doing was wrong. But again, it's a guy who's experienced in the field. So that was a really like a wake up call for me because like I was very excited to be here. And then pretty immediately it was like, all right, this is reality. I need to do this better. And I need to, I guess, do things differently than I thought I was doing. So a little bit different from yours, but again, that's also helpful for me because sometimes, guys are nice to you and they kind of walk you along, and then some guys are kind of tell you what you need to hear. And so that happened way earlier for me than I thought it would, but it was unique experience, a little bit different from yours, but I think it was definitely helpful to the writer I am today.
That that's really interesting. Do you feel like Josh was right for it? Like just the lecture part?
I think his heart was in the right place. Like I've had time to think about it, and I've talked to a lot of people in the field, like credentialed reporters, and kind of said this is kind of what I was told that I was doing wrong. Am I wrong? Because I didn't know, I didn't want to just be defensive and say no,
Yeah.
like I'm doing it the right way because this guy's been in it for 20, 30 years. And honestly, from everyone that they told me I'm not doing anything wrong. I one of the main gripes was the Wizards tweet the starting lineup out 30 minutes before every game. It's also available on NBA.com 30 minutes before the game. And the reporters get told, you talk to the coaches and stuff before, and they'll usually tell you who their starting lineups are, or they'll hand them out. And so Josh felt that, I'm not there and I shouldn't be the first person to tweet out the starting lineups. He or anybody else at the arena should be tweeting it out before me because they're there in person. But I told him, I was like, Josh, it's free game. Like it's the Wizards tweeted it out. Everyone already knows. So you can't like gatekeep it. And that was a big thing. And then there was some other stuff where like some reporter had broke that they picked up Wes Unseld Jr.'s option. And I tweeted out like the Wizards have picked up the option for Ava Wallace of the Washington Post. And Josh said I did that incorrectly, which I don't think I did. So it was all these things where I was kind of like, am I wrong, or is he just kind of being mean to me? I didn't know, and that's what happens. You said you're like a chicken with its head cut off. Like I don't know if I'm right or not.
I
You need to
feel,
be there a lot. So
but I mean, I feel like you have a duty, like you are a staff writer for a Wizards page.
mhm.
If you see other reporters reporting stuff and you give them their like the credit, I feel like you're just doing your job in a lot of ways. Like I wrote a story about a week ago about the fact that Dwayne Rankin said Kevin Durant's probably he would be shocked if Kevin Durant would return to the rest of the season. I did not say that was my reporting. I just said that that's what was being told. Like what other reporters are being saying, and they are the closest to the teams. Like, you know what I mean? Like balance between like what people are telling you versus like what your job is.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, and that's the thing. Like, you need more experience. If I had been doing this for 2 or 3 years and I was told all that stuff, I would have just said you're wrong, and I know you're wrong, so I don't really care. But it's my first time. At the time, I was 19 years old. Like, I don't know anything. I just started, my work at the Daily Collegian, our student paper here at Penn State. So I was taking this all in as like this guy's been in doing it for 20 years. I just started. He's right. But obviously, the more I talk to people, and I think that's why like resources in this field are important too. Because if I didn't have other resources that I could talk to you about this and tell me, no, like keep doing you, you're doing fine, I would have just kind of believed everything I was told. Um, so that was a unique experience, but it definitely has helped me, filter out who to listen to and I guess who to take advice from versus some people are going to tell you some stuff about your reporting, they don't like it, but as long as you think you're doing it the right way and you're doing it ethically and morally in your own standards, and I think that's kind of all you need.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was very surprised to hear that, but I think it does fall under the same umbrella of just like when you're young in any industry, like you're going to see things that you can't anticipate. And whether you've been, an engineer for 20 years, a math teacher for 20 years, you're still going to see new things, but it's about how to prepare to see those new things, right? So it's like no matter what, like you're still a baby, like in your sphere.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Oh yeah. So you talked a little bit about this balance between knowing that you have a job to do, but that you're also a student. And I think or like you're young, like no one's looking at you in the arena saying, "Oh, wow, they're here every day," and like people's eyes, light up when they see people our age in NBA media rooms and locker rooms and stuff. How do you kind of lean into that? So for me, I've leaned into it more and it's actually helped. I've spoken to some really cool people now and they appreciate it when I go up, but you also want to keep that professionalism. I'm never asking anyone to take a photo or anything like that, but I'm acknowledging like, hey, I'm a student. I want to be like you one day. I would love to talk to you or just at least introduce myself. How do you play with that balance?
I think just more so not playing like dumb, but like understanding that I'm like I think I'm doing well for my age, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm nothing. I there's
Yeah.
so much for me to learn and soak up. So like if I were to go into Capital One Arena my first time covering and be like, you know, I'm great at this and I don't really need anybody, I don't need anything. I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna kill it. That's not how I approached it. I was like, you know what, this is possibly gonna be a catastrophe. Like it's gonna be overwhelming, finding my way to certain spots in the arena, knowing where the media room is, understanding that this is my seat and like where I can go, and all of these things you got to understand. Filing my story. At what time when I'm writing it in person do I need to file it? Is there other things that I can add? Quotes, because for me, I'm not at the arena. I can't usually put quotes in my story. So what am I going to ask? And it's all of these things that you're unsure of and you need help with. So I mean, I talked to Bijan Todd. He covers
Yeah.
for Monumental, which is kind of the NBC Sports for the Wizards. One of the nicest guys I've ever met. And he just, he walked me around. Like I just followed him. I sat with him for an hour pregame and talked to him about his job and what he does for the team. Chase Hughes, who had been doing it since I was like 10 years old. I talked to him for a bit about his job and what it takes. Other reporters for the Post and freelance reporters. And so I kind of used it like you did, not necessarily as like networking, but I'm a student reporter. I basically don't know anything in the grand scheme of things. What can you teach me about this profession? And I think, other than being there and covering the game, that was probably the most important part for me is making those connections and learning from people that do the job on a daily basis.
And also, we're both in college. Neither of us are seniors. These people know that we're just genuinely curious. We don't want anything out of them. We just want to learn. And I think that really helps a lot. Like in this program I'm in right now in New York City for Syracuse, they talk about that a lot. And I think it's true because I think people really, especially in this industry, which is so cutthroat and is ever changing, people have a lot of personal responsibility, it seems like, to give back to the younger generation.
Yeah, I mean, 100% in an industry where it's not where it used to be, with the introduction of, I mean, AI now, which is pretty scary, but with the introduction of the digital age and less newspapers and all that type of stuff, journalism isn't where it used to be. And I think, at least from what I learned, even here from my professors and on the site too, is they just kind of want to make sure that this thing continues and that not only that it continues, but the younger age does it the right way. And they know that, there's all these tools, AI and plagiarism and all that exists, but you need to be able to do it ethically and do journalism the right way. And so I think that's kind of where it stems from. We want to make sure that we're giving the younger generation everything, all the tools that they need to succeed in this field that is important to them, and they want to, see it succeed even when they leave it.
Yeah, just a few more things about this, covering, like having this type of privilege of covering NBA games, because I think it's something, at least for me, I wouldn't have imagined I've been able to do it like 3 years ago. Now I'm doing it and it feels unreal. And I think a lot of people feel the same way with like feel like that's the goal. Every kid, when they realize that they're not going to be Aaron Judge or LeBron, wants to go cover sports. Um, Having these experiences at our age, juniors in college, does it change your objectives a lot of ways? Like uh it's not that you're at the mountaintop, but that you're getting a glimpse of the mountaintop. Does it change like your perspective on what you want to accomplish?
100%, because at this time last year, I was kind of one foot in the door in law school, one foot in the door in journalism. And then I got to, like I said, like live a day like a journalist that would cover the Wizards. And I'm going to the arena for free and I'm watching the game, the team that I like watching, and it's NBA basketball in front of me. And I have a great seat. The people around me and the media are nice. And I get to stand courts on the court for warm-ups and get to talk to players and coaches afterwards. I get to write a story about it that people will read. That was kind of like, okay, I this is what I want to do. I don't want to go to a 9 to 5 where I'm clocking out and I don't care. This is something that I care about and I'm close, like I'm close to achieving it. It's not like it's right in front of me, but I feel like at this point in my career, I've done everything I can to be here. Um, and that was kind of like, okay, you could do this every day. Why wouldn't you continue to pursue it? So that kind of motivated me even more to pursue this as a full-time career.
I think um I think sometimes for me, everyone is like, this is so cool, this is so cool, which is awesome. But when you do something a lot, sometimes you kind of forget because it's just like your routine. How do you kind of stay grateful for these opportunities while also not being like on to the next thing or being like, I need to do more? Like, how do you keep that balance? I'm not just asking for the pot, I'm asking for myself too, because
Yeah.
it's something I struggle
Um,
with.
it's a great question. I think staying grounded is one of the most important things, staying humble, because I've grown a good following on Twitter. There's a lot of people that genuinely appreciate what I do because not a lot of people do it for the Wizards. When I go to games, I don't know if it's the same for you with I'm sure not with the Knicks, but there was one home game I went to against the Raptors last year. There was three other people at the post game press conference with me. That's not a lot for an NBA game. And so I know there's a lot of people that enjoy what I do. And I get a lot of direct messages every day, basically like, we appreciate what you're doing, or just anybody saying, hey, Greg, like, what do you think about the fact that the Wizards might not get the Grizzlies pick? And it's my goal. I have to respond to all of them because I feel like, the second that I don't, the second that I say, you know what, I'm above this. And, that's not because when I first started and somebody was like, what do you think about the team? That was the coolest thing for me because I have all this knowledge that I just tell to my brother, my dad, and my mom. But someone actually wants to know what I think about this team. And I have all this knowledge that I want to share. And I get a lot of more of those, way more of those now than I did when I started. And in order for me to still sit there and say, this is the coolest thing that someone wants to genuinely know what I have to say, I have to respond. I have to make sure that I'm staying on top of it because these people are taking time out of their day to inquire about what I think. They have a question, they want to know my answer. And so I feel like the second that I stop doing that and I think that I'm above that, that's when it stops getting cool. It's the same for going to the NBA arenas. Like the second where I'm like, you know what, this is a job and I can't take a second to say this is really cool, that's when it gets kind of repetitive for me. And so I think making sure that I'm staying in the moment and staying grounded, that is what makes me continue to go every day thinking that I have the coolest job in the world.
Well, and also at the same time, when your parents and your family are asking you for these takes, they're asking you because of proximity. If these people are asking you online, what are your thoughts on Bub Carrington hitting that buzzer beater in game 82, which, changes the Wizards draft odds just a little bit. Um, that's like, well, we want to reach out to Greg because of who Greg is, right? Like you're known as like a Wizards expert in a lot of ways, and that probably means the world.
It does. I mean, my dad always would tell me like your reputation is everything, and I feel like on at least for Wizards Twitter, I've built the reputation of someone that's always going to be there for all 82 games. Someone's that's going to be consistent. Going to have one or two podcasts a week. Going to write articles about the team. Going to tweet about the team. But he's also someone that's always going to respond, no matter if he has I had 5 followers or whether he has 10,000 followers. He's always going to be responding. He's always going to be you know a regular, genuine person, and that's the most important thing to me. Is making sure that everyone understands that I genuinely do appreciate the comments and the DMs, and I can show that gratitude by continuing to respond, not just phoning it in, but like actually offering my analysis and making sure that they feel like they are important, that their words are important or just as important as what I'm saying.
Well, you're giving back to the community in a lot of ways, and I think that feels good for everyone involved.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Speaking of your Twitter, you've got 10K followers. Now you've got Twitter Blue. You've really like leaned, like gone all in on it. Something I've noticed is you're very consistent. You've always got your pod. It's weekly. You tweet your starting lineups before the game, even if it's causing controversy. And you do your takeaway to the game. Um, how do you stay so regimented with that? And how have you been able to build your following?
It's crazy. People will always ask me, like, I build my schedule around the Wizards, one of the worst teams in the league, a team that's given me nothing really in the last 5 to 6 years. But I think it's important to me because even, I tweeted out that it was my third year covering the team and I appreciate everyone. And just the support I got on there was crazy to me. And I think that's because I'm there all the entire way. Like there's people that have covered it, that cover the team that, branch off to cover other sports because the Wizards just aren't good and they're not important. Or there'll be times where the beat writers for the team, they don't tweet about the game. The athletic reporter, the Washington Post reporter, they don't live tweet. And so it's just kind of me, and I'm kind of the person that's there every game. And for a fan base that's been checked out, rightfully so, I'd say for the last 2 or 3 years, especially when this rebuild started, I think they've appreciated the fact that like somebody is there, and when they're not there to watch the game, they know Greg will be there to give me who started the game, tweet me through it. And I've had a lot of people just say, I don't watch the game anymore. I just scroll your feed, and after that, I know exactly what happened, and I know exactly who played well, who didn't play well, and all of that. And that's important to me because when people tell you that your work is important and that they genuinely appreciate it, you don't want to let them down, as funny as that sounds. And I don't think I let anybody down by not, by missing one random game against the Kings in February of a lost season. But to me, it's important. And so making sure that I'm consistent in being there every game, making sure the pod is there every week. Most weeks I don't have a lot of time. So like I'll record that at like 1 a.m., post it at like 3 a.m., get up for my 8 a.m. and I'm very tired. But it's
Oh, the
important to me that
commitment.
like yeah, it's important to me like people are staying informed and they might not like every tweet or see every tweet or listen to every episode. But it's there for them if they want it. And that's been important to me is being that consistent beacon of information for Wizards fans that otherwise wouldn't be interested in the team.
And also kind of tells a story. If you're covering the whole game, I like to do my I don't want to say play-by-play coverage of it, but like my, constant updates of the team when I'm covering the games, just because I feel like one, Dwayne Rankin does that for the Suns every game. But like you're kind of like telling a story almost when you're
Mhm.
doing it, like when you're dissecting every part of the game. So my great uncle, he hasn't missed a Jets game since 1974, which is crazy outside of the COVID year. Do you have any like in your young career of covering the Wizards, any crazy things that you've had to miss or anything like that of making sure that you're on top of things so far?
It's actually a funny question. I think it's 10 years now that I haven't missed a game. Maybe it's 11, but I don't like to miss games. Like I like to make sure I feel like I get FOMO like when I'm not watching the game. Um, the craziest my best friend this had to be 2017. No, it was actually 2017 or 2018. It was when the Wizards were in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Game or first round actually. It was game three against the Hawks in Atlanta. The Wizards were up 2-0. And my best friend had his bar mitzvah on that day. It was May 12th. It was huge for me. Like I want to watch the Wizards game, but I also know that like I can't miss it, right? Or it might have been game five or something, but I can't miss the game. Actually no, I'm remembering it wrong. It was game six against Boston. The
Oh,
Wizards had it. The Wizards hadn't made it this far, and I don't know why I was thinking the Hawks. It was Game Six, Eastern Conference Semifinals, 2017
the
against the
John Wall
Celtics.
game.
The John Wall infamous shot, probably the most clutch shot in Wizards history, and I had a dilemma. Like I couldn't miss the game, but I knew that like there's more important things than the Wizards at that point in my life. I couldn't miss it, so I went to the services and I went to the party, but like the whole time I was kind of sneaking off, and I felt bad about it. But like I was watching the game on my phone, and he didn't blame me. I talked to him about it, but like I took like a quarter off because I wanted to be present, I wanted to be there for him, and I felt bad about doing it. But then as the game kind of got on, like a crowd formed around me because everyone else wanted to watch it too. I'll never forget Isaiah Thomas makes the two shots. We're down five, and it was probably one of the lowest points of my life. Just like again, we're here in the second round, we're gonna lose. I have all these Sixers fans around me chirping me in my face, and then we tie the game with a Bradley Beal shot, and then Al Horford banks in that BS shot from the corner. And I mean, it's just like these kids, like I've known for my whole life, they're just in my face and they're just talking so much to me. And then my feed was behind because I didn't have YouTube TV at the time. I was watching on some illegal streaming service. And I'll never forget some kid runs in. He's like, John Wall hit a three. John Wall hit a three. And I was like, stop. Like you're messing with me. Everyone around me doesn't want me to win. And then he makes it. And it was one of the craziest, obviously the craziest Wizards moment for me. But it was a moment where like I knew I shouldn't be watching the game. I should be being a good friend, but like I had to watch. And they understood that. That was the biggest Wizards game of my lifetime. But it was kind of a crazy scene to be watching that all unfold, with so many people around me who didn't want it to unfold.
That's so funny, and I keep laughing because I was watching with one of my good friends. I'm not even a Wizards fan, but I was watching with one of my good friends that game, and it was such like a goofy night for me. My whole family was watching the game with my friend, and right before Wall hit the shot, my cat pooped on my mom, which is crazy, so random. And then Wall hits that shot, and Mark Jones and Hubie Brown are going crazy, and it's just like this whole sequence in my living room of like this crazy shot happening, and like everyone's at least aware of how crazy this moment is for the Wizards, and like how like everyone at DC is going crazy. And then like there's poop on my like there's crap on my mom like from the cat. Like it was just crazy sequence. And then that Monday, every Wizards fan's heart was crushed. I don't think you want to
Yeah.
talk about that, but
No, not really. We can move on.
yeah. But you kind of answered my question though about providing unique content to people. Um, I think it's very important, like being a young reporter, trying to find that niche. I was hearing Ryan Russillo talking about this the other day. Finding that like finding that part of media or that sphere where there's a community but you can't access, like they don't have access to it. Is that part of the reasons why you do the play-by-play, or is it just more just like immersing yourself in the community?
It's a big part of it. Like I said, there's a lot of people that can't watch. I've had a lot of people that's like they're working late hours during the game and they can't watch it, but they just can get my notifications and it's kind of like, okay, this happened and okay, it's halftime or entering the fourth, the Wizards are only down two and they've come back from a 16-point deficit. Like that's important. It's all these little things that that keeps me going. But you mentioned another thing, like a lot of the people that cover, especially the Wizards, they cover it for like their subscribers and all of their stuff's behind a paywall because like the Washington Post reporter doesn't live tweet during the game, the Athletic reporter doesn't live tweet, and those
Yeah.
are subscription based, right? So you'll get their recaps every night, but again, with all the quotes and stuff, you got to pay money, and some people just can't afford it or don't want to. My stuff's all free, and that's why I think it's important because nobody else is live tweeting. Everybody else kind of covers it for their subscribers. I cover it for everybody, and that's been important to me, which is why like my podcast doesn't have sponsors. Like I'm not looking to like make money off of this. You can apparently you can put your podcast behind a paywall. I didn't know you could do that. But that's not something that I will never do. And I'll never, you know, put out an article. Bullets Forever is free, and that's what I love about it. Is you know, you got to make money in journalism, and I understand that, but anybody can read my work, and so I try to make it so I cover it for the general fan and for everybody instead of just my subscribers. And I think that's kind of what a lot of people like is you don't have to click on a link and pay money to read what I have to say. It's on a platform that's free for everybody to use. And I like it to obviously to stay that way because I think a lot of people appreciate that.
Speaking of your podcasts, you do like 50-minute podcast episodes, and now I know that you do them at 1 a.m. How do you prepare for them? Do you think it's just like I know I'm asking a question, I'm like asking double question, but like from my takeaway from people who can just talk on a string like that for a very long time, it's not because they prep 2 days before, it's just because they know so much about said topic that they can just talk about it until the cows fly home or whatever the saying is. Like, what is it for you?
I love this question because it's been so many different things, even throughout this year. I've been doing it for about a year and a half, so since last October. And when I first started, I would take an hour and I would plan out like everything that I wanted to say. And I just listened back and I'm like, this kid sounds robotic. Like this sounds rehearsed. And I'm like, I know so much about the team, and a lot of people just like it when I'm spitballing, like I'm just talking. And so even when I go on other podcasts, I went on one yesterday morning about the team. And I think it was probably, you get better at the podcasts the more you do, you get more comfortable. But this is the best one I think that I've done. And I did no preparation. All I did was watch 82 games of this team and cover them relentlessly. And that's kind of where I go. For my preparation and where I'm at now, usually I'll cover the games that happened that week and just go through a couple of things. So I'll just write like Carrington 32, Sar struggles, Wizards get blown out. And so that kind of keeps me on track to what I want to say, but I'm not typing out everything. I'm making sure that I'm giving myself the ability to just free ball because I know what I'm talking about. Versus the other times when I just plan it out too much, I feel like it's a little bit robotic. Now, when I bring guests on and I'm interviewing people, that takes me a while because I want to make sure that I have my questions ready and I know what I want to talk to them personally about. I know stuff about them that I can bring up. So that takes me a while. But that's also why I like having just myself on my podcast. Like you said, I can record it at 1 a.m. if I need to. I don't need to plan out times with guests. I can literally just hit record for 45 minutes, talk about the team, and then post the podcast. So for me, it's more so giving myself free reign and the ability to just be creative with my own thoughts.
You have good roommates?
I do, yeah. They know all about it. They give me space. Usually it's late, so they're sleeping.
That's why I was
But
asking.
but yeah, for the most part, they understand what I'm doing. So like I just got to tell them that I'm recording, and they'll give me about 45 minutes to an hour. So good there.
No, I just had to ask because like I don't know, when I've recorded stuff, I like text people like, please don't bother me. I'm on D&D, all this
Oh, of
stuff.
course.
Like I literally am right now.
I
What
put a
is
sign on my door last year that just said like, please don't come in my room. Give me like 30 minutes.
oh, I
And then
love
they knew.
that's awesome. What is something that you wish you could tell your younger self? Having all these experiences, but knowing that so many are in the future for you. What is something you could tell yourself?
Have more confidence. Like when I first started this, I was really scared to mess up, and I was really scared, like, okay, what is this reporter or this person going to think of my work? Or, I was always afraid, especially with my writing pieces for Bullets Forever, because the commenters there are pretty ruthless. A
Tell me
bunch of
about it with
older
SB Nation
Wizards slash
commentary.
Bullet, yeah, Wizards slash Bullets fans. And like I'd write, I remember last summer or maybe 2 summers ago, I did a Mount Rushmore article, like my four best Wizards of all time, and I did Wes Unseld and Elvin Hayes, which are like staples, and they're the best players in friend history. But as a younger guy, like I did John Wall and I did Bradley Beal, and I mean people were so mad. Like I genuinely think I ruined their day because I didn't put Gilbert Arenas or I didn't put some of the older players into that instead of a Bradley Beal. And I had good analysis, but I was really scared that and upset that like a lot of people disagree with me. And now at this point, I'm just going to put it out and say, oh, you don't like it? Like, I don't care. I think that this is the case and I back it up with facts. If you don't like it, that sucks. You can tell me why you don't like it, but I'm not as concerned or upset. Even when I get mean comments on Twitter, it doesn't affect me anymore. But when I first started, that really stuck with me. I was like, am I doing something wrong? Is my writing not good? Is my fact stuff is that not good? Or people don't like my tweets. But at this point, this far in, I'm just confident in what I do. Enough people have told me they enjoy it to where the one or two bad comments, I don't care. They're probably having their own problems more so than it's a problem with me.
Yeah, and on top of it, if people are commenting on what you have to say and it's bad, that means that they care in some way. And
Hmm.
it's not that it's not about engagement, but it's the fact that you're, creating discourse and creating dialogue, and healthy dialogue has people disagreeing, violently disagreeing for no, like it has all the elements of it in a lot of ways. And that means in a way it shows that you've made it to the
100%. I mean, there's cool elements of it too. Like you're that mad at what I said that you have to, tell me about it. Like, fine, that's cool for me. Like, thank you for reading my work and taking the time to actually, talk about it. And you said it's healthy dialogue. I'm not expecting everybody when I write a column to think that I'm the greatest writer or that I everything I said is true. It's a column for a reason. There's going to be people that agree and disagree with you. It's opinion. But like you said, the fact that people are even taking the time out of their day to read my work and comment about it, like that's enough for me, positive or negative. So I think you said it pretty perfectly.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Greg.
Thank you.
Hello again. Thanks again for watching this episode of Holden Sherman's Conversations. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a beat for Holden Sherman's Conversations.